If you're wondering, how much is my home worth in today's market, then I'm going to go ahead and show you how we accurately assess your home's market value, without underestimating or overestimating its worth due to market trends or economic conditions. So a quick outline of what we're going to be going over is, how I learned this, staying informed about market dynamics, using modern technology, also known as artificial intelligence, machine learning, flexibility and responsiveness, and educate and empower. Okay, now let's get into it. So we'll start off with, how I learned this. So I'm going to tell you a quick story about my experience when I was flipping homes. So this was like right around 2008 when the market crashed, right? So there were a lot of lessons learned in that experience, but this particular one, I had looked into buying a house in Del Mar, and during my evaluation of the property, before I purchased it, I knew I could get it for around $1,150,000. That'll tell you a little about how much the market has changed since then. But anyway, I knew if I did enough stuff to it, I was confident that I could probably sell for around $1,800,000. And so I went ahead and bought it with some investors and put about $300,000 into the remodel, the renovations. And at the time, I was not a real estate agent, so I hired one. And he basically said, yeah, I think 1.8 million is a good starting price. So let's go ahead and put it on the market. So we did, and we found a buyer, and this was looking really good, right? They started the escrow process. We had an appraiser out there. We did all these different things. The appraisal came back at that $1,800,000 that we were looking for. So everything's looking good. Well, the market, let me just say this. I don't know why that particular deal, that first one, fell out of escrow. I can't remember. But right at that same time, that's when everything started falling apart, right? Our economy just collapsed. And basically overnight, things just went south in a hurry. I ended up chasing the market down, all right? So we had it listed at 1.8 still, and no buyers were coming in. So we dropped the price. I think it was maybe in the $50,000 or $100,000 increments. But every few weeks we were just dropping the price. And eventually we ended up selling the house for $1,550,000. All right, so we didn't end up losing much money, our investors and I, but we lost maybe $21,000 between three of us, so $7,000 each. So the loss wasn't that much, but the potential loss that we incurred, like what we were expecting to gain from that first initial escrow, when we look at that, those numbers were quite significant. What I learned through this was, one, right, the value of a home is not determined by the market. All right, it's not determined by comps. It's not determined by a real estate agent. It's not determined by an appraiser. Like all these things that we use to value homes, that wasn't the value, right? We had a buyer. We had an appraisal. We had the market telling us what the house was worth. We had my agent, all these different factors that I thought was giving the value of the home. They were all there at that $1,800,000 mark, and we ended up selling for $1,550,000, right? That was the first lesson I learned. The second lesson kind of ties into the first one, but it's basically, well, what does determine value? There's three things that determine a value. You need a buyer that's ready, willing, and able to pay you what you're looking for at the time you're looking to sell. So as we fast forward over the years and I eventually get into residential sales as a real estate agent, my goal was to take those lessons learned as a home flipper and use them to benefit my clients, right? So I had to figure out the methodology of evaluating homes and selling the homes for the highest price, to appeal to that ready, willing, and able buyer, despite what market conditions are. So that's what I'm going to go over with you next. Okay, moving on. We're going to stay informed about market dynamics. All right, so how we do that is we look at trends, right? The first thing we're gonna look at are general trends. We're gonna look at, are we in a buyer's market or a seller's market, right? That's the most basic thing that we need to figure out first. Because if there's more supply out there than there is, buyers that want to buy homes, then we're in a buyer's market and buyers are in control, and therefore prices should come down. However, the opposite holds true too, right? If there's not enough homes for sale and there's more buyers that are looking to buy the homes that exist on the market, then we're in a seller's market, right? And so sellers have control and have all the negotiation power. And if that's the case, then prices should go up. So I just kind of want to show you basically what I'm talking about here. So buyer's market is indicated in red, seller's market is indicated in green, and right here, these are home values. So when we're in green in a buyer's market, you can see that prices go up. And then again, if we're in red, which is a buyer's market, then prices come down. And we've been in this seller's market where prices are going up ever since 2012. But you can see here, we don't go up in a straight line. All these jagged edges, there's this ebb and flow, right? It goes up, it goes down all throughout the year. So the next thing that we have to monitor are seasonal trends. And so in the seasonal trends, that's when we know, like, throughout the year, our homes selling faster, our buyers being more aggressive, our prices going up or down or sideways. And these trends are very, very typical and very easy to monitor if you know what you're looking for. So to do that, we're looking at just a couple things. We're looking at how fast homes sell. That's our number one indicator, because the faster homes sell, typically the more they sell for. And if they take longer to sell, then they're going to sell for less. But we monitor days to sell. We monitor how aggressive home buyers are being compared to the list price. Are they offering, asking price, more, less? We're monitoring that. And then those couple things should tell us how home prices are reacting to that. Are prices going up, down, or sideways throughout the year? And by paying close attention to these trends on a monthly basis, we're able to, stay informed about market conditions and advise our clients appropriately. Excellent. Okay, now let's move on to use modern technology, aka artificial intelligence and machine learning. So one thing you need to know before we get started is we do not use appraisers, and we do not use that common CMA that most traditional real estate agents use. And the reason for that, let me just go over that briefly before I touch base on what we're doing here. One, appraisers are, going back to that story about me flipping a home, the appraiser came in at the valuation that we were looking for, right? But it was his opinion of value, which didn't necessarily result in our actual sales price. So that's one point. But the second thing is, like, if you put your house up for sale, or before you put your house up for sale, if you get an appraisal done, and you had 20 people over, 20 different appraisers, you're probably gonna get 20 different answers. Because appraisers are human, right? They're gonna give you their opinion of value. They're gonna be wrong in certain aspects. They're gonna have a different opinion on, like, how much is your pool gonna add value to your home? How much is the location gonna add value? What the street that it's on, all these different things, the age of your home. So getting an appraisal done ahead of time is not recommended. What we need to do, though, is be in a position, once we do have a contract in place, to be able to provide enough evidence to the appraiser so that we can help them justify the value that your buyer is willing to offer you, okay? So we definitely don't do appraisers at the beginning. And number two, we don't do the common CMA, and that's basically because it's very old school. Remember back in the day when you used to hire a real estate agent when you wanted to buy a home, and they would show you the houses for sale. They would scour the MLS, paper MLS, and they would have all access to property details and whatever was up for sale, because you as a client back in the day had no access to that stuff. You relied 100% on your real estate agent to know all of that and take you to a specific home. Nowadays, everything's on the internet, right? You can go on Zillow, you can go on Redfin, you can go on any of these real estate portals and find every single house that's up for sale in real time. Well, that's the same case with valuing your home, okay? Real estate agents, if they were to mathematically go through and try to figure out price per square foot, justify that, or account for, I don't know, the value of the lot of land that it sits on, and then factor in, appreciation and all these different things that, I used to do back in the day. And I have a degree in mathematics, so I was really good at that. It's still not as accurate as if you use modern technology. So we are going to use very complex and very dynamic tools to show you the value of your home, but we encapsulate all that stuff into a very simple to use tool, and that's what we're going to go over right now. So what we do is we use Zillow, Redfin, and Realtor.com. And you might be thinking, oh wow, Jesse, that's super genius. Anybody can do that. Well, yes and no. These are the tools that we use, but you gotta know how to use them. So Zillow, check this out. Zillow tells us right on their website, how their home valuation model is created. They tell you how accurate it is, and you can see even on their, it's not as accurate in some parts of the country as it is with others. But you can look down here to San Diego where we're at, and we can find out what their median error rate is, right? I can't highlight it in this video. But that's for active listings, right? Just down here, we have off-market listings. And you're gonna see that when we move down to San Diego, that the median error rate is 6.25%. So it's actually 6.25% down here. And for homes that are on the market, it's 2.04%. So when you're checking out your home, we need to account for an error rate from Zillow of 6.25%. So if they're gonna value your home at, let's just call it, my most recent one I did was like 1.358. If that was the Zillow's estimated value of your home, we need to say, well, on a range, when we account for the error rate, 6.25% less than this number gives you the low end of the range, and then 6.25% more than this number gives you the high end of the range, okay? Same thing happens with Redfin. Redfin has they publish their error rates and how accurate their homes, their estimates are, all right on their website, and you can just scroll through here, look on California, look for San Diego, and you'll find how accurate they are. All right, that's 1.99%. That is how accurate they are when homes are on market versus off market. And the reason why, just so you know, the reason why homes become more accurate when they put them up for sale is because at that point they can monitor, how many clicks it's getting, how many hours people are spending, the whole audience is spending, skimming through the photos of your house compared to the next one. It can monitor all that stuff. Plus it's, given a lot more information once the listing goes live. That's why it's more accurate. But when it's off market, we need to account for the bigger error rate. So we do that for Zillow, we do that for Redfin.com, and then finally we use Realtor.com, right? They're slightly different than Redfin and Zillow in the way they evaluate homes. They actually take 3 different third-party valuations, and they grab those home valuation estimates and they find the average of those. But they show you all 3 different valuations and then give you a number. So what we do is we take the average of those 3 and stick them in this calculator here, right? So on this particular example, there were these 3 numbers. When you take the average of them, gives you, it gives you 1.379. All right, then what we want to do is have a diversified approach. So we we use all of those three estimated values. We give you the average of here, and then we calculate the error, the low end of the range by the error rate here, and the lower end of the range, or the upper end of the range by the error rate here. And then this becomes your range value. And that is the most comprehensive way to evaluate your home, because it is using Zillow, Redfin, Realtor. These guys spend millions and millions of dollars on research and development and creating tools that have the most precise valuations, and they're updated in real time based off all the data that all the consumer habits and all the different stuff that might affect the value of your home. And that is the most accurate way to determine the value of your home. It's not to pick a specific number, but to take a range of value based off of those very complex valuation models. And then we justify that value based off of how well your home stacks up against the competition. So we're going to be looking at two different things here. We're looking at comparable sales. Those are homes that are sold that are very similar to yours in size, property type, whatever, within the same school boundaries, and it's like comps, right? And then we look at competition, right? Competition is much different than comparables. Instead of looking at homes that are comparable to your home, we're looking at homes that are within a similar valuation range. Because if a buyer can, take the same purchasing power and apply it to your neighborhood or somewhere around your neighborhood and get more or less home, that might affect what kind of house they're looking to buy. So we definitely want to consider competition as well. Okay, moving to flexibility and responsiveness. Okay, so remember this little graph here with the seasonal trends and the general trends. We are doing this every single month, right? We got to stay ahead of the market by following what the trend lines are doing in any given month, right? Going back to my example of selling that Del Mar house, if we had buried our head in the sand and just waited and just kept our price at that 1.8 number that we were talking about and didn't look back, we would have lost our shorts. Even though we sold it for $1,550,000, the person that bought that house became into financial distress, 6 months later, and ended up selling it as a short sale for just over 800 grand. So they almost sold it for half of what they bought it from me for. So if we had, and that was only like six or 8 months later. So if we had just ignored the changes in the market, then we could have been in a position where we lost a tremendous amount of money. And I don't want that to happen to you. So we monitor the market trends, the seasonal trends on a monthly basis. In addition to that, as people come into the house, we notate, what day they've been in, what time, who their agent is, what their contact information, and we keep track of this in real time. This is not a very good example here because it's blank and empty, but as soon as somebody comes through the house, we call them up and we ask them two or three questions. The main question is, are you going to offer on this house? And if you are, excellent, tell us when we can expect your offer. And number two, if you're not going to offer, why? What is it that is preventing you from submitting an offer? And we take that feedback, and now we have information to move forward with and make educated decisions on whether or not we need to make some adjustments on selling your house, whether it's a price change or it's anything else to make your house more marketable. The next thing that we do is we're constantly monitoring how well your house is doing as our price analysis is concerned. We went over that just a minute ago, right? So we're gonna look at how your evaluations are doing online, and how does that stack up to the next week, into the next week? Are there changes happening in these AI generated valuations? We're also looking at, what are the trends in the neighborhood? Is the median sales price coming up or down based off of what we're seeing online on Redfin or Zillow? I'm taking notes. How many views are we getting on Zillow? Are our view counts coming down? Are these healthy numbers? Are these the kind of numbers that we need to see in order to expect a sale this week? Do these numbers need to come up? And how do we get these numbers up? So we're checking this information out. We're taking notes. How is the open house? Are we doing open houses at your house? How many buyers are coming in? What kind of comments are they making? Anyway, we're notating all this stuff on a weekly basis. That way we can have a historical record of how things started, and then what are they looking like in today's market. And then of course we have rules in place as well, right? So this is our seller homework form that you'll end up filling out eventually if you ever need to sell your house. But in here is our rule of 15 or 21, right? So basically what this tells us is if we have the house up for sale and we don't have an offer in hand after 15 showings or after 21 days of it being on the market, then there's most likely a pricing problem. That's not always the case, so we have to take this information and compare it to our notes here, compare it to our feedback from people coming in through the house, and also compare it to, are the trends going up or down or sideways at the moment of the time that your house is up for sale. But all this information helps us to make educated decisions moving forward. Just remember, we have to stay flexible in pricing because we don't know what we don't know until the market tells us. But we have to be responsive to what the market is telling us at that time. All right, now we can move on to our final thing: educate and empower. Look, it's our goal to educate you throughout the process and about the process, right? Our goal is to help you feel comfortable and confident and empowered using the information that we're doing. That's why we create videos like this one. And also, another important thing to note is that everything that we do is on Google Docs, right? I'm not sure if you noticed, but every form that I'm showing you is on these Google Docs, whether it's the pricing analysis tool, it's the showing appointments, or whatever it is. It's all here, and it's all shareable and transparent and updated in real time that you have 100% full access to at any time. You'll get a Google Drive folder that has all of this information from our sellers maps, that is this program here, which you'll learn more about, to our Google Drive account where you have the copy of the listing agreement, all the notes with our marketing maintenance information. That's where we keep our online activity report that we just kind of went over. Like, everything is in here and fully accessible to you. That way you can make real-time informed decisions and feel empowered while you're doing it. Okay, so here's the big question, right? Can you see how this can add 3 to 5% more profit to your bottom line when you sell? By implementing this approach, we make the process of determining your home's market value not only accurate and reflective of current market conditions, but also an informative and reassuring experience for you. Even if you're initially unfamiliar with the complexities of valuing real estate here in San Diego. If anyone you care about can benefit from this information, just make sure to share this video using that share button below. My name's Jesse Morrison, and I'm going to go ahead and put a link in the description section where you can book a call directly on my calendar. That way, if you're looking to make a move, whether you're 9 days or 9 months out, we can talk about your next best steps to making that happen in today's market. The link will take you directly to my website, where you'll click this big green button and then just choose a day and a time that work best for you, and then tell me what you need help with, whether you need to sell your house, buy a new one, or both. Otherwise, if you're just looking for more information at this time, I'd recommend that you check out this playlist that answers other common questions that you might have about selling your house fast and for top dollar here in San Diego.